Here we see the client performing the ankle dorsiflexion test. For the active mobility variation of this test, the client was asked to be in a lunge position. He was then asked to try and get his knee as far forward as he could, while keeping his heel on the ground. He was able to get his knee 3 centimeters past his toes on both his left and right legs, which got him a score of 1. For the passive variation, the client was asked to stand with one foot in front of the other and lean towards a wall, while still keeping his heel on the ground. This was so gravity could be the force stretching his ankle instead of him doing it himself. He was able to get his knee 8 centimeters past his toes for both legs, which got him a score of 2. The next test is the hip flexion test. For the active portion, the client was asked to lie flat on his back and raise one leg towards his head, while keeping his leg and spine straight. He also had to keep his ankle relaxed, or his sciatic nerve and calves might interfere with his mobility. He was unable to get his ankle past his knee for either leg, which got him a score of 1. For the passive portion, the client was in the same position, but was asked to relax while our professional raised his leg for him. He was able to get his ankle slightly past his knee for both his legs, with his right going a little farther up compared to his left. This got him a score of 2. For both tests, the client kept his back relatively straight. This test is a shoulder mobility test. The active test required the client to make a fist with his thumb on the inside, raise his arm up, then while keeping his upper arm up, flex his arm so that his fist is on his back. The goal is to reach as far down his back as he can. For his right arm, the client was able to get his fist 19 centimeters, or 1 full hand length, below his C7 vertebra, and 17 centimeters, which is a little under 1 hand length, for his left arm. This got him a score of 3 for his right and 2 for his left. To test his passive mobility, the client would get into the same position, but use his other arm to push his hand down. He was able to get 20 centimeters past C7 on his right and 22 centimeters on his left, which is a score of 3 for both arms. The final test is a stability test called the Y-balance reach test. The client is asked to balance on one foot while reaching his other foot in 3 different directions: anterior, posteromedial, and posterolateral. Balancing on his right foot, he was able to reach 71 centimeters anteriorly, 107 centimeters posterolaterally, and 110 centimeters posteromedially. With a leg length of 81 centimeters, he gets a composite percentage of 118% for his left leg. Balancing on his left foot, he was able to reach 73 centimeters anteriorly, 104 centimeters posterolaterally, and 114 centimeters posteromedially. This got him a composite percentage of 119% for his right leg.
The first question is, was there a difference in the client's active and passive mobility? And the answer is yes. In the dorsiflexion test, both legs reached 3 centimeters actively but improved to 8 centimeters passively. And at the hips, the right showed a 7 degrees difference and the left had an 8 degrees difference. And finally, for the shoulders, the right side showed only 1 centimeter gap between active and passive motion, but on the left side, active reach was 17 centimeters below the C7 vertebrae, but passively extended to 22 centimeters.
For the second question, yes, we believe the client's mobility did slightly influence his Y-balance test. For the most part, there were no major left and right side imbalances, so his Y-balance test on both sides only had small differences. His left and right active range of motion for hip flexion was only slightly less than his passive range of motion, and this contributed to his good results for the posterior medial and the posterior lateral aspects of the Y-balance test. However, the client's active range of motion was slightly less than the passive range of motion for ankle dorsiflexion, and this played a negative impact in his anterior reach during the Y-balance test.
For client A. Jaden, all 4 tests are appropriate for measuring his needs in salsa dances. So the first test is the ankle dorsiflexion test, which measures his ankle's stability, very crucial for balancing and quick footwork in dancing. And the hip flexion evaluates ranges he needed for rotational movements. Shoulder flexions checks overhead mobility. And finally, the Y-balances test. It assesses the lower body stability and symmetry important in dancing.
These tests specifically fit Jaden's goals and needs. They give a baseline for mobility for his ankle, hip, and shoulder, while addressing dynamic stability and control through the Y-balance test. So his stretching routine can actually be tailored to his actual restrictions. And unlike the other clients, Jaden doesn't need high performance output or medical rehab level caution. His needs are about functional movement, rhythm, and injury prevention as he becomes more active, and these 4 tests do exactly that.